Good morning, ASEAN. Welcome to ASEAN BIZ, the business segment of Durian ASEAN. We will bring you updates from all over the world on business news, especially how it affects and involves ASEAN countries. I'm Andrew Chia, and with me is my host.
I'm Eric Chong.
Today basically is the first edition of the business segment, and we are basically only covering two things. Number one, what our listeners will be getting or enjoying on this segment, and number two, we will be introducing to you some of the hosts and the invited guests, as well as the topics that we are going to cover.
Right. So Andrew, what's so exciting about these topics?
Yeah, there's a big difference between this segment and some of the segments out there where we cover news and exactly how it affects businessmen in our countries in this region.
And what makes us different from the other business stations?
One of the things that is different is that we are covering exact news. For example, you hear every now and then things like Greek debt and Greece bailout, and you hear terms like, oh, it's very bad, they're owing a lot of money and they can't pay, they're going to default. So what we are going to do is we'll tell you exactly how much they are owing and what are the implications on your business. Eric, that is what is different with us.
Yep. So do you play with a lot of terminologies which the listeners are unable to understand?
We will try to speak English, okay?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right. That will be very interesting because we have been listening to a lot of business stations. Just skim through some news and we have proper understanding.
Right. There's no intelligence, isn't it? It's basically information.
I wouldn't say that there's no intelligence. Yeah. Of course, the host plays a very important role in gathering all this information to play it out to the general public. Yes.
Shall we start the ball rolling by telling our listeners what exactly they'll be getting on this segment?
Yeah, sure. Sure on.
Number one, first thing, you'll be getting updates on business opportunities within your country, within ASEAN, as well as global opportunities.
So will we be looking at opportunities for the big guys or just the small guys?
Both, Eric. Yep. We'll be covering opportunities for big time, big boys, big players in the market, as well as the small boys and even the newcomers, new entrepreneurs.
And I believe that besides covering business opportunities, we might be also covering like leisure opportunities.
Oh, definitely. And we will even have a joke session.
Educational opportunities, right?
Yes,
like
that's
where
definitely.
Inter-countries, like Asian countries, the global, where to study, what courses.
Right, yeah. Talking about that, our country, Malaysia, is quite popular when it comes to education. We have a few hundred universities and tertiary education institutions right now. And a lot of people from all over the world are coming to Malaysia to study. Do you know exactly why that is so?
Well, to my opinion, I believe that first thing is our medium of communications.
Right.
And then our infrastructures.
Okay.
I would say is pretty world class. Our infrastructures and the medium of communications. The general public will have able to speak English very well. We are able to speak Mandarin very well with the common language that's communicated throughout the world.
That is the entry qualification.
Yes.
If they are not able to be good in English, they need to sit for some courses to improve their English.
Yes, and they must achieve certain grades before they can be admitted to the
I think one of the reasons is that we have a wide range of courses. I was told that some of our courses available in Malaysia are not found in other countries.
Yeah, it's true. And recently I came across these courses. I was also puzzled that there is a degree to study for event management.
Wow, that's something new.
That's something new because through our years of working experience and business experience, what I gather is that event management you can only gather through practical experience. Now there's a course to study.
Okay. You see, nowadays young people are so privileged. Yes. Those days, businessmen have to knock their heads on the wall.
Knock their heads, had to go through a lot of losses, a lot of pains,
right,
before they get things right. So I would say that this kind of education will actually hype up our youngsters
Right.
To actually putting into more proper structures and
of
a
course,
better deliverance.
I believe the other reason is that our courses here are priced competitively.
I would say that it's quite competitive and reasonably economical.
To study in Malaysia.
Even the cost of living for the students over here, I would say, is quite cheap within the regions.
Right. And the accommodation and food here is not too bad, right?
I would say when you are in Malaysia, the food here is super.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Great, yeah. So all in all, our listeners will be getting to know a lot of business opportunities that are available in Malaysia as well as in their own country. And also we'll try to cover countries like the America and EU and bring all these opportunities to our doorstep to see what is available in terms of business
when we talk about EU and Americas, in fact, quite a number of SMEs or small medium industries, a lot of them are quite skeptical to actually venture into the EU regions or the American regions, being that they felt that they're too small for them to actually.
I'm sure there are some companies that have made it.
Yeah, sure. We did come across a few countries that make it, doing some export in food stuff to the EU regions and to Americas.
Yes.
And we have quite a number of well-known local brands that marketed very well in the Europes and America. So all these are not big giants and big corporates. They are just normal, small startup in Malaysia that they can actually penetrate these particular regions. So we will be bringing updates on the requirements, trade opportunities from all these regions to you all.
Right. Yeah, folks. So besides the business opportunities, we will be covering shortly certain things like grants, government grants and assistance that are available. We'll take a short break, Eric.
Yeah, sure. Right.
Welcome back, guys. Yeah, we were saying just now that we are bringing you information on government grants available and as well as other forms of assistance, perhaps subsidies or allowances given by the government.
You mean government giving free money?
Yeah, right now. Why not? In fact, it sounds great and unbelievable, but it's true. There are a lot of grants available for businessmen.
Yeah, I did come across, and actually we did do some transactions for some government grants many years back.
Yes.
And
in fact, grants are very common in the EU. For example, we understand that in Germany, 80% of companies are SMEs, which is quite normal. A lot of companies are SMEs basically. So the government there have a lot of grants for them to develop their business, both in terms of technology as well as marketing. Even in Malaysia, we have grants like that, isn't it?
Yes. And I believe that the size of the grants are increasing. It's just that most of our businessmen or business owner does not have the information on how to go about it.
Right, yeah.
No? And to apply for these grants, to them is quite a tedious work.
Yes, these grants have been available for the past 10, 20 years. Can you imagine?
Well, I would
Eric?
say,
even
if
more
I'm
than
not
that.
mistaken, if more than that, it should be around 30 years.
Yes,
Right.
the government have been having grants to help SMIs and SMEs to better improve their business.
Yeah, because through my memory, the first time we came across this grant is almost like 25 years ago.
Right, yes.
Yes.
Those grants are basically for SMIs, right?
Right, yes. And
Eric, can you tell our listeners what's the difference between SMIs and SMEs? I mean, besides the spelling.
okay. Well, basically, as we look back, maybe 20, 25 years to 30 years ago, a lot of concentrations have been putting on into SMI, which they are small medium industries, which they are just concentrating on enterprising, manufacturing. Okay, the manufacturing productions based company. So as time goes by, the government felt that the entrepreneurs and the enterprise should be given due recognitions.
Yes, and it's not really necessary to differentiate between SMIs, right?
Yes, because whether they are manufacturing, they are tradings or entrepreneurs in services, both of all these industries also face the same problem.
Yes, so we lump them all under SMEs.
SMEs. So
small, medium,
Enterprises. So when we talk about enterprises, it basically encompasses
Everything.
manufacturing, services, constructions, tradings, whatever.
Right.
So I would say that by expanding this field, the government is giving out a bigger grant size.
Yes.
And more penetrations to the industries. And this will actually help the small and medium enterprises.
Just now you mentioned about 25 years ago there were some grants for the SMIs, right? Can you give our listeners some more details about these grants available in Malaysia?
Okay, like if I'm not mistaken, the grants that we have transacted is called the ITAF grant.
ITAF.
ITAF. So it's
Industrial
Technical Assistance Funds. Right. So it's basically targeted to those manufacturing who wanted to modernize.
Right.
And upgrade their systems, upgrade their administrations, or upgrade the production line. Mm-hmm. Okay, so
how much was the grant?
Well, they're divided into 4 categories.
Right.
If I still recall.
Right.
It's the biggest categories is the ITAF 4, if I'm not mistaken.
2 and 3.
2 and 3, right.
Or research
and automations.
Right, research and development and automation.
Automations. So those are the bigger size, and then the 3 and 4 is the smaller size, which is for upgrading of computerization systems and the admins and mostly the back end systems.
Right. So a lot of small businesses got that grant. And the total grant was something like 500,000 or even more, isn't it?
Yes.
Per company.
Per company. And I would say that we actually helped quite a number of companies
especially to get this
computerization grants. So I would say most of them are very happy.
Definitely free money, man.
Free money, and not only free money, because when you talk about that size of money, most of them will be able to afford.
Right.
It's just that they truly appreciate the initiative of the government to see that their enterprises are computerized,
right,
and they get the benefits of the systems.
Right. The meaning of grant is that you don't need to pay back.
Yes,
it's
and
not a loan.
When we were sharing this with the entrepreneurs or the industry's owner, they are scratching their heads. They thought, is this true or is the dream come true?
And finally, a lot of them got the grant.
Yes, and they felt that probably it's just targeted to certain industries, but actually it's not. It's across the board. There's no restriction.
We managed to help them secure something like 10 million worth of grant, right?
Yes.
If I remember Eric's history correctly.
Yeah. So I would say that there's more grants to be given out. Just that you need the correct paperwork.
Yeah, I understand that grant is still available up to today.
It's still available.
Probably the criteria is a little bit more
stringent, and there are quite a number of people are capitalizing on this. In fact, I do come across a few cases where people just capitalize on this one and start charging exorbitant service charge.
Right. Yeah.
On the business owner to get this grant. So what we feel that is, since it's a free money, the charges shouldn't be so exorbitant.
So if our listeners today are involved in business, they're SMEs, how do they go about to find out and to apply for such grants?
They have to keep on listening to ASEAN BIZ.
Right.
Where we will bring in more information on how to go about getting these grants.
Right.
Not even in Malaysia. We will do our best to give more information to them in other countries as well, like Asian member countries. And I believe that out of most of the Asian countries, I believe that all countries do give grants to their industries owner or their business owners.
I believe so.
Right. So we will do more research, get more information, and listeners.
For a starter, Eric, can you give them some tips? Which ministry has the grant that you mentioned just now, so that they can actually look up the website or inquire about such grants? They might get.
Okay. During our early days, I'm not sure whether there are any changes. It was under Bank Pembangunan, and we are licensing with MITI.
Okay, right, the ministry is MITI.
MITI and Bank Pembangunan. So Bank Pembangunan is the dispersing agent for this one.
And Matrade.
And
MIDA.
MIDA.
Right.
So because there are different categories of trades, So in those days, so now we will get the more information, more exciting news,
and we'll update and
we
post
update
it
and
on
post
Asian
it
Biz.
on Asian Biz. So listeners, sit tight and enjoy
Yes, we'll come back
your
shortly
windfall.
with Eric trying to update you on the latest government assistance that's available to Malaysians today. It's fresh from the oven. Don't go away.
Okay, thank you. Okay, welcome back, listeners. This is Eric here.
And it's Andrew Chia. This is Asian Biz,
And
the business channel at Durian ASEAN.
yeah, just before the break, Andrews mentioned that I shall be bringing some news about the latest grants available in our government.
Actually, it's not a grant.
It's not a
It's
grant.
another form of government assistance in the form of a loan.
You're right. Okay, so it's considered a so-called
Another incentive.
For the business owner.
Right.
Okay, in the situations where the bank are too stringent for them to go through.
Right. Some
Okay.
of you might be having problems getting loans from banks, right?
Yes.
The banks want so many documents and so many criteria. So the government is making it a bit easier for you to do your business. The total amount allocated is 50 million ringgit. And they
yes.
have actually disbursed this amount, if I read correctly in the newspapers. It is being managed by MCA. Dr. Wikasyong mentioned about this loan available to SMEs recently, and it seems that it's been dispersed, and MCA is managing it. And if I'm not mistaken, we are going to apply through MCA, right?
Yes, and I believe that this is a very good news for business owners.
Right.
Who would like
50 million, Eric. That's a big amount of money.
Yeah, if you say big, is very big. If you say small, it's not that small also.
Well, for business owners, even 50,000 could be quite helpful at times, right?
Yeah, at times, especially in these trying times where you face with a so-called a lot of.
Hey, Eric, what do you mean by trying times? Hey.
Well, I mean, in the global economy, I'm not specifically put in any countries. We will look at global economics. We see the Japanese yen are weakening.
Yes.
Okay, we see quite a number of currencies are
But
weakening.
Eric, they just mentioned that America is staging a strong economic recovery.
Well, that's America. Okay.
And even today's paper say that Japan is recovering strongly due to Shinzo Abe's policies. But they also had a caveat.
They also have a caveat.
Don't be so happy
Don't
too
be so
soon.
happy, yes, because at today's exchange rate is 124 yen to a dollar USD.
Wow, is that high or low?
It's the all-time high.
All-time high.
Yeah,
Wow.
for the past 20 years.
That means it's bad news for Japan or US?
I would say it's good news for Japan.
Good news for Japan.
Yeah, this will actually boost their export.
Right. You
Okay.
mean the dollar is stronger against the yen, right?
Right.
That is good news for Japan.
That's good news for Japan.
They can expect
expect more export, because their production price is still in Japanese currency, Japanese yen. So the Americans are able to buy more Japanese goods.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
Right.
So guys, we have covered 2 points in our introduction of what you were getting on Asian Biz. Updates on business opportunities for you, as well as information on grants and other forms of government assistance. Right now, we are into our third part, which is bringing expert views on all business issues involving global finance, which Eric was talking about just now. America, Japan, and probably the EU. These are the big boys affecting business everywhere. We'll be bringing you expert views on other areas of business, property investment, stock investment, accounting and tax issues, and also the latest money scams.
Wow. When you talk about money scams, the excitement is around everywhere.
Yeah.
And talking about money scams, I would say that it's nothing new.
Why we want to tell listeners about money scams, Eric?
It's sad to see that most of the victims, I would say victims, are mainly the laymen who are caught by the attractiveness of their returns.
Some of these are actually businessmen and
Some are
entrepreneurs
businessmen
also, right?
and entrepreneurs. They are looking for a fast cash flow, so they just dump their money into these scams. And some of them are retirees who have their own whole retirement funds dumped into it, and some even we heard of that sell their whole properties to cash it out and dump into this kind of money scams for fast returns. Being the latest one is the yield fund. Okay, if you all don't understand how the yield fund work, we will bring you the latest.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
We will cover that in detail.
Cover that in details, and I would say the tricks are not new. Okay,
just that people are not aware.
The people are not aware and how the mechanics works. So we will bring in more details on the latest scams and how does it works, the mechanics of the
Yes, Eric.
scam.
Today I was told people don't read newspapers anymore, especially newspapers that are very kind of stereotype and pro-government, with a lot of news that are not so news.
Yeah. Okay, it's true in a sense, but
the problem is that people also don't know that there are scams.
Yes.
These are reported in the newspapers.
These are reported in the newspapers, and some newspapers actually covers it in quite detail.
Yeah, and still people don't read.
If you don't read the newspaper, just be selective in your news, or
don't read the political section, isn't it?
If you feel that the political news is hype up or disturbing you, just skip it. You can go for the sports, you can go for the business news.
Right. I stay on my cartoon page, Eric.
Oh, okay. We all stays on the cartoon page. Right. Okay. We start off with cartoon for the morning.
Right. So besides business scams or money scams, we'll be actually covering the first item mentioned just now is global finance. Yes. Eric, can you say a few words about what global finance involves?
Well, global finance
countries basically we are talking about here.
Global finance, basically the first thing that comes to the people's mind is global debts. Individual country debts.
Oh, that sounds sad, isn't it? Finance equals to debts.
Well, it's sad, but it's the fact that most countries owe a lot of money.
Which is the biggest culprit, owing the most money?
I would say initially the main limelight, I can't say who owes the most money, but the limelight now is Greece. Okay?
Greece is not a big boy.
It's not a big boy, but they are in the limelight because
poor guys.
It keeps coming up from in the news that they are going to default certain payments.
Right, but they are not the ones owing the most money.
That's not the one owing the most, definitely. And they look at it, probably like US will be owing the most money.
I believe that is the biggest culprit, right?
Right, sure, definitely. So please stay tuned to find out more details on how does this country amasses such a great debts.
Right, yeah. And how much the actual amount that is owing.
Yes, because when we heard on the news that Greece owes a lot of money, Greece GDP is no good, but how much is how much?
Right, yeah.
No actual figures that it.
Greece economy is smaller than Malaysia's. That is how small it is.
Yes, and are they owing a lot of money? Let's stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned guys. We'll come back with more details on global finance, business and other investments. Don't go away. Welcome back guys. We are still on the topic of global finance, business and other investments. So we'll be bringing you news about America, the largest economy in the world, and number 2 largest is the European Union, which most people are not aware because it is not a country, it's a region. Eric, you know what's the number 2 largest country in the world in terms of economy?
Well, beside the US, I would say it's a combine of EU.
Yes. If you are talking about a single country, would that be China?
Yeah, definitely.
Or Japan?
I would say it's China.
Yeah, I believe China has overtaken Japan recently, as well as Germany, right?
Yes,
Germany used to be number 3 or 4.
Number 3 or 4.
Right, yes. Yeah. So these are the biggest countries in the world and the biggest economies. We'll be updating you not only on the GDP but also their debts, how much they're owing, and especially how it affects businesses in ASEAN.
Yeah. Okay, so when it comes to this kind of policies like accounting policies, economics policy mixed by the government, how does that affect the businesses, and how does it affect the stock market?
Right.
And, and Andrew will be bringing you more in depth of the stock investment. Okay.
Yes, we'll actually bring in speakers and guests who are experts in investing in stocks. We'll be interviewing them, Eric.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Get their views.
To get their views, there will be experts in stocks. There will be accountants.
Yeah, it's easy to get a stock investment expert in Malaysia on our local market. But how about the other markets in the region? For example, the Singapore Stock Exchange. We hope to be able to get some experts.
Get some experts from there, and I believe that Singapore being branded the financial center of Asia.
Yeah, besides Hong Kong.
Besides Hong Kong,
which is not an ASEAN country, right?
Which we have, we would have quite a number of speakers or experts from there.
Right. Do we have an expert on Dow Jones?
Well, we try to look for it.
Right. Yeah.
And I believe that within our pool, there is one or two inside our checklist.
Otherwise, Eric will double up as NYXC expert.
Then I got
with a little bit of help from Andrew Chia.
Yeah, then I got to do more research and spend sleepless night.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
And on the property front, very interesting. One of the biggest investments that anybody can make in his whole life is either buying his house or buying a shop lot or something like that, right, Eric?
Yeah, sure.
So because that is one important aspect of investment that involves almost everybody.
Well, because a lot of people feels that the moment I start working or before I start working, I got to plan to buy for my first house.
Right, yes. And right now, the question on everybody's mind, I'm not sure about other ASEAN countries, but right now in Malaysia, it seems that the property market has started to decline slowly. And people are asking the question, is the property market going to recover or is it going to drop further? Am I going to buy my house now or should I wait for next year or 2 years later? Some experts are saying, don't buy anything right now. Don't even buy next year. Wait for the property price to crash. So let us bring some views from the experts.
We shall be bringing you an expert in the property market.
Right, yes.
Okay, and he will share his view and his research and his data with our listeners.
Yes, that'll be great, right?
Yeah, sure.
Good information
for
everybody,
and
including us.
Yeah, we would like to know more also.
Yeah. So besides property and stocks, right now the other most popular question is the GST.
GST, right.
So we will rope in an accountant or an auditor or financial expert to share with us their views on whether GST is good for you and me and what are the implications.
Yes, and can GST last in the long run?
Yeah, is it affecting the market right now?
Okay, so
are businesses suffering?
Just stay tuned.
Right now?
Right. Just stay tuned and we listen to the experts. What's their viewpoint on GST?
Yes, that would be great. We'll come back shortly to give you some idea about an example of how we cover a topic like, say, Greece debt or Greece bailout. And then you will have a good understanding of what we are trying to do to bring you useful information which actually affects your investment or your business. Stay tuned.
Yes.
Welcome back, guys.
Yeah, welcome back. We are back again.
Right now, we are going to give you an example of how we at ASEAN BIZ are going to cover a particular topic. Say, for example, Greece bailout. What we usually have is that Greece is owing a lot of money, and if they are not bailed out, there will be serious consequences. So, exactly how much they are owing and what do we actually mean by serious consequences?
How serious is serious?
Right, exactly. Yeah. We want to be more accurate in whatever we say or do when we cover a particular topic. So, we are going to insert something a bit more interesting about Greece. We'll give you a background, say for example, how big the country is, what is the population like, what is the history, who are the important and very famous people from Greece, right?
Yes, Eric? And also what are their main industries?
Right, we are not going to cover only boring and dry financial figures for you.
Yes, and what's their favorite pastime?
Yes, we'll make Greece come alive for you. And then we will actually cover their latest financial situation. Say for example, how much is the GDP of Greece? We are talking about they are having a big problem owing a lot of money. First of all, do you know how much the GDP of Greece is? And number two, how much is their debt? And how about that, Eric, if you compare Greece economy with Malaysia's economy, do you know which economy is bigger, Greece or Malaysia? And by how much? And if you say they are owing a lot of money, how much are they owing compared to Malaysia, for example?
I would say that question is been in the mind of our listeners, so that will be exciting to find out.
Yes, this is what you will get to know. And you will know what is going to be the impact if Greece fail to service their loan. And besides Greece, we will be asking questions like, we are talking about the euro, right?
Yes.
If Greece has a problem, they will have to pull out or rather be sacked from the eurozone. What exactly is a eurozone?
And how does this impact the euro?
Right. For example, how many countries are using the euro currency? And do you know which are all these countries?
I believe that most listeners are unable to know which are all these countries. Probably they just maybe able to name a few of the countries.
Yes.
Yeah.
Besides that, Eric, what do you think the listeners would like to find out about this whole problem about Greece and Europe default?
I would say that there will be more concern about each individual country's debts owning, right? And who is the biggest debtor? And the size of the total debts of the EU.
Right, yeah. And talking about EU, do you know which are the countries in EU or not?
Well, I would say that quite a number of our listeners might not be able to tell all the countries. Probably they can just name a handful. And,
there are actually about, say, 20 over countries,
20
right?
over countries. And it's surprising that some countries are not even in the Europe.
You mean they are not using the euro currency, right?
Yeah.
Yes, for example, the best example is UK.
UK
is still using the sterling pound.
Right.
And we are going to tell you, if these EU countries are not using the euro currency, what currencies they are using right now. Isn't that interesting, Eric?
That will be interesting because it will be like a cross-culture.
Yes, this is something our listeners would find very interesting. Countries in the EU that are not using the euro currency, as well as countries that are not in the EU. But using the euro currency. How about
very
that?
Confusing.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. And what happens if Greece is unable to repay its debts? What impact will it have on you as an ASEAN member or a businessman or entrepreneur in ASEAN?
Okay, I believe that quite a number of our listeners who felt that they are just common people, whatever happened to Greece might not affect me.
Right. So this is an example of how we are going to cover a particular topic in our ASEAN BIZ in future for the listeners.
Yes. And this is just one of the examples of how we're going to cover some of the issues.
Right.
And we will bring you more issues to highlight.
Yes. Let's take a short break now before we move on to our second topic of the day, which is to introduce to you the host and as well as our invited guests and the topics that they cover. Let's break for a while, Eric.
Yeah.
Welcome back, listeners. You're on ASEAN BIZ, the Durian Asian business segment. With me in the studio today is Eric Chong, my co-host.
Hi, good to see you guys again.
I'm Andrew Chia. Eric, we are now trying to introduce ourselves as well as the guests which are going to invite to our studios shortly.
Yeah, sure. Let our listeners know us better.
Right. Andrew Chia is an author and a trainer. Who is Andrew Chia? Oh, yeah, that's me.
Okay.
So basically, I will be covering the topic called financial intelligence. We will be talking a little bit more about that topic shortly. So a little bit background about myself. I started off working as a banker in a local bank for some years before I moved on to do some business. And incidentally, Eric was one of my partners in an IT business some time back.
Yes, and that was almost like 30 years ago.
Right. After we sold off that business, I became a banking and marketing consultant for some SMEs and corporates. and Eric moved on to do something else, which he will tell you shortly. Okay, so I went into writing books, and I joined an organization called the CENFIS, the Center for Financial Intelligence Studies. We are going to tell you a little bit more about CENFIS history shortly.
Yep.
Right now, let me move myself over to Eric. He will tell you a little bit about himself and his background.
Hi guys, I'm Eric here, Eric Chong. So as Andrew mentioned, we are partners in business.
Crime.
Okay. We are not in crime. Okay, we are partner in business during the early days. I would say in the early 90s, late 80s. Okay, so business was okay. We do well for a short period. Then business went down. We sold off the business.
Financial crisis, right?
Asian financial crisis, and being young, there's not much of financial intelligence. We make money, we spend money, like nobody business.
Yeah, that's normal.
That's normal. Okay, so we got to share some tips on how to be more intelligent with your money, and not be too casual with your money. Okay, so it's what happens to a number of people nowadays. Then from there, I moved on to the construction industries. I've been in the construction industry for almost like 20 years. Okay. And
interesting industry.
Interesting industries, very taxing industries, very stressful industries. And I would say the big money is there, but can you take the stress? That's another issue.
That's the challenge.
Okay, that's the challenge. So when time comes by, I would say when the stress took a toll on my fitness and my health, I said that's time for me to give up that industries.
Right.
Okay, and during that process, I look into forex tradings, and with understanding of forex, how the forex currency move, and also I look into fitness and health. So nowadays I spend most of my time into fitness, nutritional awareness,
right,
and also the forex currency.
Yes, Eric is very fit now compared to some years ago. Just a couple of years ago, he was overweight. Seriously overweight.
Okay.
So he will be covering a little bit on fitness and health, because there's a saying that goes like this: health is wealth.
Yeah.
Everybody agrees.
If you don't have your wealth, if you don't have your health, you don't have your wealth.
Right. Yeah.
What is wealth without health? Okay.
So you mean, Eric, health is a very important component of wealth, right?
Yes, definitely. Because no matter how much money you have, without the health, there's not much you can enjoy your wealth.
Yes, that's what you get. Eric has been through a long journey of health awareness and getting fit. So each time we will get him to share with us some short tips on how to become healthy and fit.
Yes, and
so that we can make more money.
Yeah, and I will bring in experts from the fitness industries to give an outlook of what's happening in the fitness industries, and how youngsters can get into the fitness industries and have a fair share of the market.
Great, yeah. So we have covered basically our two favorite hosts here, and now we move on to our invited guests. First on the list is a guy by the name of Datuk Seri Dr. Christopher Heng. Dr. Christopher is an accountant and auditor by profession, and he will be bringing you definitely topics relating to accounting. First on the list definitely is the GST. I think listeners would like to know whether GST is good for you.
I believe that our listeners will be very excited and staying tuned to the radio.
Yes, we hope to get him with us shortly. Besides that, he will be covering topics like how to take care of your other parts of your taxes, your business tax, your personal income tax, as well as property profits tax.
Which I believe that quite a number of tycoons or rich men have some issues over that area. Okay.
We'll try to ask Dr. Christopher to cover listing exercises for us. Right now, whether it's a good time to get your company listed, what are the advantages, disadvantages,
and
what are the criteria?
And I believe that he does help a few companies on the technicality of how to get listed.
Right. He's very experienced.
Yes, he's very experienced in that particular field.
We look forward to get Datuk Sri with us on the studio. Next in line would be a gentleman by the name of YB Loy. He's not actually a YB. YB are his Chinese name initials. YB is a very experienced real estate man with more than 40 years in the industry. And he tells us that a lot of property advice given to young people especially are actually quite harmful. And they are given by some property gurus who do not have the proper training and certification by the government.
Wow, that sounds very dangerous, isn't it?
Yes. So it says, especially people when they advise you to keep buying, whether the property market is going down or going up, people will keep telling you to buy, regardless of location. And they will tell you things like the properties prices will keep going up forever.
Yeah.
This is something quite dangerous.
Okay, which happens in the stock market. A lot of people try to catch the falling knife.
Yes, dangerous. Just saying that alone sounds very dangerous.
Very dangerous. And it's too technical for our listeners. Let's explain it in depth later.
Yes, we'll get YB to explain to us in layman terms how to actually do property investment with the least risk and the highest returns. Okay. And next on the list is a gentleman by the name of Clement Heng. Clement Heng is a CFP, RFP. That means is a financial planner. He specializes in financial planning and investment, as well as savings expert, how to save your money with the highest returns. Okay,
that would be interesting.
Great. And besides Clement and YB, we try to get a lady by the name of Karen Chang.
At least that will soften the environment.
Yes, we need more ladies for our show, right?
Yes, yeah. Okay.
Karen is a pharmacist by qualification, and she's a motivation speaker, and she covers financial issues, especially those issues relating to young people. It'll be an interesting.
That will be interesting.
Lady to bring.
Yeah, at least is some information to guide our youngsters.
Great. Yeah. And next is Mr. C.P. Tay. Mr. Tay, unlike Mr. Y.B. Loy, Mr. Tay is doing stocks and not properties. He's a stock remiser and a former lecturer with college for more than 20 years. Right now, he's an expert on trading stocks in the Kuala Lumpur Stock Exchange. He'll be happy to welcome Mr. Tay.
Well, looks like we have a great pool of experts.
That's only the tip of the iceberg, man.
Wow, okay. Right. So
that's what we will be getting for all our listeners.
Yes, and probably we will bring in some of the ambassadors from different countries.
Right, fantastic. Exactly how we want to update ourselves with what is happening in other countries.
Yes.
As a Malaysian, we may be more familiar with neighboring countries like Singapore or Thailand, which is nearest to us.
Yes.
But we may not be so well versed with countries like Vietnam,
Myanmar, Cambodia,
Laos. Yes.
Yeah. What are the opportunities over there?
So we need the ambassadors from your countries to really bring us information about opportunities in your country, so that other countries in ASEAN may be able to benefit if some of these incentives or assistance are available to
and I believe
countries.
The benefits is vice versa.
Right, fantastic.
Right.
We will be inviting them to the studio also. Okay. Besides all these people, Eric, who else do we plan to bring to us?
Well, I believe that a lot of radio shows will bring in the big guys. So what are we going to do? We will bring in the entrepreneurs, the small enterprises, to air their view as a layman terms, and we shall be bringing people who have just started up their business, or people who have some trades in different countries, how they penetrated the countries.
I mean, not only the big boys.
Not only the big boys. Those are normal, small, medium industries.
Yeah, some of us may be smaller players, and we want to listen to how
they penetrated, and we will also be bringing entrepreneurs in the creative areas, because nowadays we see a lot of creative personnel, professionals, creative artists, how they can survive in their trades.
Yes, and how about this, Eric? How about getting guys who have already experienced doing business in ASEAN countries? For example, we have customers in Malaysia who have done big infra projects in the country of Laos or Vietnam.
Yeah, that would be fine. That would be great, man.
Yeah, if you can bring them aboard and share with us their experience, maybe the listeners in other ASEAN countries would be able to benefit from their experience.
From
right?
their experience, yes, that's true. So we are not only bringing in the big boys, we will be bringing in the layman, the small and medium industries as well.
Right, Eric. That about wraps up what we wanted to do today, which is to tell our listeners what they'll be getting, a sneak preview of what will be happening on a show, as well as introduction to the speakers, as well as the topics. Right, Eric? That about wrap up our day's session for ASEAN Biz.
Yes. What we've been through the last hour is just the preview of what's going to come.
Sounds exciting to me, Eric.
Sounds exciting, yes. We have to do more homework.
Yes, there's tons of research. Yes, I forgot one thing. We'll be getting a lot of research from this organization called SANFIS. Just now we mentioned earlier. Yes. SANFIS is the Center for Financial Intelligence Studies. So financial intelligence covers a little bit more than just business.
Right.
Of course, everybody thinks that business is everything about money. But money is not only about business. Yes. Wow, does that sound confusing?
Very confusing. So, in order to unlock your confusion, okay, stay tuned to Asian Biz.
Yes. Let me tell our listeners.
ASEAN Biz. Sorry, ASEAN.
Right. What financial intelligence is all about. Just now we say that it's not only about business, right?
Right.
So, yes, business is about making money, right?
Yes.
So besides making money, there are other aspects of business. For example, saving your money after you have made a lot of money, right?
How to protect your money.
Yes, and of course the most important, most interesting part is spending the money.
Spending the money.
Okay, yes. Right. And of course, if you want to make more money, you need to learn how to invest money also, right?
So along the program, we will bring you tips.
Yes, these are all part of financial intelligence besides business. And we'll be covering all this on ASEAN Biz. Thank you very much, guys.
See you guys.